The marble is cold against my cheek. That's what I notice first. Not the blood, mine, pooling beneath my ribs. Not the designer heels scattered 3 feet away where I kicked them off trying to run. Just the cold, expensive Italian marble that cost more than my mother's mortgage, and it's the last thing I'm going to feel. This is how I die, in a penthouse that was never mine, wearing a ring that meant nothing. Footsteps echo in the hallway, heavy, deliberate. I know that walk, 18 months of hearing it pass my bedroom door without stopping has burned the rhythm into my brain. Byung-suk, my husband, my contract, the man I thought I was using. He'll call an ambulance. He has to. Even for a transaction. Even for a... The footsteps don't slow. I try to lift my head, try to see his face, but my vision is blurred red at the edges. I can make out the shape of him. 6 feet of tailored Brioni suit, hands in pockets like he's surveying a disappointing quarterly report. Byung-suk... His shoe appears in my line of sight. Black Oxford. Custom made. He steps over my outstretched hand. He steps over me. Jiwona, his voice carries past me, warm in a way I've never heard it. You're early, I wasn't expecting you until 8. A woman's laugh. Light, musical. Everything I'm not. I couldn't wait any longer, Oppa. It's been 6 months. 6 months. The same amount of time left on our contract. I want to scream, want to claw at his ankles as he walks away. But my body won't cooperate. There's a knife wound in my side and shock setting in, and the only thing I can do is lie here and listen to him greet the woman he actually wanted. You look beautiful, he says, and I hate that I can hear the smile in it. I'm dying 10 feet away, and he's smiling. Oppa, is that? Her voice shifts, sharpens with something that might be concern if I believed women like her were capable of it. Is that blood? The housekeeper will handle it. His response is ice smooth, dismissive. Come, I had them prepare your favorite room. The housekeeper will handle it, like I'm a spill, like I'm nothing. Their footsteps fade, his steady and sure, hers a delicate click, click, click of heels, worth more than my Stanford degree apparently means in this marble tomb. The cold is spreading now, from the floor into my bones. I always thought dying would be louder, messier. Instead, it's just quiet. My brother needs his medication refilled on Tuesday. Mum's lupus appointment is Thursday. The wire transfer for my niece's tuition was supposed to go through. No, I don't get to think about them. If I think about them, I'll realize what this means. That I gambled their lives on a contract marriage to a man who just stepped over my bleeding body like I was a shadow. $2 million. That's what I'm worth. What they're worth. The edges of my vision are going dark when I hear it. New footsteps, running this time, and a voice I recognize. Mrs. Choi, the housekeeper. She's yelling something in Korean, rapid fire and panicked. Hands on my face, warm, shaking. Miss Olivia, stay with me. I want to tell her it's fine, that I knew what I was signing up for when I married a man whose father runs half of Seoul's underground. That you don't take blood money without expecting blood, but that would be a lie. I thought I was smarter than this. Thought I could play in their world and walk away clean. Thought a Stanford MBA and Atlanta hustle meant something here. I thought I had the upper hand. Mrs. Choi is sobbing now, pressing something against my side, a towel maybe, or her apron. The pressure sends white-hot pain through my ribs and I gasp, really gasp, the kind that pulls air into lungs that don't want to work anymore. Already called ambulance, she's saying, switching to English for me. Already called. You stay with me. Why? So I can live to see him marry her? So I can finish out the contract and walk away knowing exactly how little I mattered. The darkness is creeping in faster now, merciful, final. I close my eyes. At least my family will get the life insurance. At least I'm worth more dead than... A door slams open somewhere down the hall. Those footsteps again. Running now, different, uncontrolled in a way I've never heard from him. Mrs. Choi's voice rises, shrill. Sajangnim, she's losing. Move. His voice cuts through the fog, sharp and cold and nothing like the warmth he used with her. Move, Mrs. Choi. Hands on my face, bigger than the housekeeper's, rougher. My eyes won't open, won't obey. Olivia. My name in his mouth sounds wrong. Sounds like he's allowed to say it. Open your eyes. No. You don't get to care now. You stepped over me. You chose her. That's an order, Olivia. The words crack something open in my chest. Anger, maybe. Enough to pull me back from the edge for one more second. I force my eyes open. Byung-suk's face fills my vision. His hand is pressed against my side where Mrs. Choi's was, and his fingers are slick with my blood. For the first time in 18 months of mechanical dinners and separate bedrooms and a marriage that existed only on paper, I see something in his eyes that looks almost like fear. My vision blurs again, going dark at the edges. Don't, he says, and his voice is raw in a way I didn't know it could be. I try to speak, can't. Taste copper on my tongue. The world tilts, or maybe that's me, falling deeper into the dark. His face blurs above me, and I think I hear him say something else, something in Korean that sounds almost like my name, but softer, desperate. Too late. The thought drifts through me without heat, without anger. Just fact. You're 18 months too late. Then the darkness takes me, and I stop feeling the cold. Hello, welcome to Afro-Korean Series Channel. Thank you for spending your time here, I appreciate. Now, back to the story.
She's too light. That's the first coherent thought I have as I lift her from the marble. Olivia Winston weighs nothing in my arms. Less than the briefcase of cash I carried for my father last week. Less than the guilt I've been carrying for 18 months. How did I not notice she was this small? Mrs. Choi is still talking, rapid Korean that washes over me like static. The ambulance is coming, 5 minutes. Traffic on Gangnam-daero is heavy, but they're using the shoulder. None of it matters. What matters is the bloom of red spreading across the white silk of Olivia's blouse. Designer. I bought it for her 3 months ago because my father said the American wife needed to look the part at the charity gala. She wore it once, smiled for the cameras, then never touched it again. She kept it. Why would she keep it? Her head falls against my shoulder as I stand, and the movement sends a fresh pulse of blood over my hand. Warm. Still warm. That means something. Her heart is still pumping, still fighting. 20 minutes ago, I heard her voice behind me, weak, desperate, my name. I kept walking, not because I didn't hear her. I heard her perfectly. My brain categorized it in half a second. Problem, distraction, complication that will derail Jiwon's arrival, and the careful choreography my father spent 6 months arranging. I stepped over her the way I step over every inconvenient truth in my life, efficiently, without looking down, without letting it register as real. That's what I'm good at, not feeling things until it's too late to matter. Sejongnim, the ambulance, too slow. I'm already moving toward the elevator, Olivia's weight nothing against my chest. Call Dr. Yoon. Tell him I'm bringing her to Asan Medical Center. Tell him to have an OR prepped and waiting. Mrs. Choi scrambles for her phone, still crying, her hands shaking so badly she drops it twice. I don't wait for her to finish dialing. The elevator is 12 feet away. I cover the distance in seconds, my dress shoes leaving red prints on the white marble. Someone will have to clean that. Someone will have to explain to building security why there's blood in the hallway of the penthouse floor. Someone will have to explain how armed men got past my security. The rage surfaces then, cold, focused, useful. Whoever did this is already dead. They just don't know it yet. The elevator doors open and I step inside, slamming my shoulder against the garage button because my hands are full of Olivia and I won't, put her down. Appa, Jiwon's voice cuts through before the doors close. She's standing at the end of the hallway, perfectly composed in her cream Chanel suit, her hair still perfect, her expression carefully blank. That face she learned from her mother, who learned from generations of women who married men like me and survived by feeling nothing. I used to admire that about her. Right now, I can't remember why. I'll call you. I say, Byung-suk. Her voice shifts, uncertain. What is she to you? My wife, my contract, my mistake. The elevator doors close before I have to answer. The descent feels too slow. 38 floors. Olivia's breathing is shallow against my chest. Too shallow, too fast, the rhythm of a body in shock. I can feel her heartbeat through the silk. Faint, irregular, don't. The word surfaces from somewhere I don't want to examine. A place that sounds too much like panic. My father taught me young. Compartmentalize everything. Fear, guilt, attachment. Lock them away where they can't make you weak. I've spent 15 years perfecting that skill. It's failing me now. The elevator lurches to a stop. Garage level. My car is 15 feet away. The Genesis G90 I bought because Jiwon's father said it showed the right kind of success. Midnight blue, leather interior. I had bulletproof glass installed after the third assassination attempt on my father, but apparently I didn't. Think to secure my own home the same way. Stupid. Arrogant. I'll find out how they got in. I'll find out who gave the order, who paid them, which of my father's enemies decided my house was vulnerable enough to penetrate. And then I'll make sure they understand exactly how wrong they were. But first, Olivia makes a sound, soft, pained. Her eyelids flutter but don't open. I know, I say, and my voice comes out rougher than I intended. I know it hurts. We're almost there. We. When did I start thinking in plurals? I reach the car, and the problem becomes immediately clear. I can't open the door without putting her down. Can't put her down without her bleeding getting worse. Can't. Sajangnim. Mrs. Choi stumbles out of the elevator, phone pressed to her ear, still crying. She sees my problem and rushes forward, yanking open the back door of the Genesis. I slide into the seat with Olivia still in my arms. There's no good way to do this. No way to lay her down. That won't put pressure on the wound. So I don't lay her down. I keep her against my chest, one arm locked around her shoulders, the other pressed hard against her side where the blood won't stop. Drive, I tell Mrs. Choi. Sajangnim, I've never driven your... Drive or she dies. Mrs. Choi's face goes white. She climbs into the driver's seat, adjusts the mirror with shaking hands, and pulls out of the garage like she's piloting a tank. The tires squeal. She takes the turn too sharp, and Olivia's head lolls against my collarbone. This is insane. The thought drifts through with surprising clarity. I should have waited for the ambulance. Should have let the professionals handle this. Should have done 100 things differently, starting with the moment I stepped over her in the hallway. But I didn't. And now I'm holding my contract wife in the back of a car while my housekeeper runs red lights through Gangnam, and Olivia's blood soaks through a $1,500 shirt I'll never be able to wear again. Just the woman I married because my father needed an American wife on paper. Just the Stanford MBA who restructured our laundering operations so efficiently we saved $40 million, won in the first quarter. Just the stranger who sleeps 3 doors down and never asks me for anything except the money we agreed on. Just the person bleeding out in my arms because I thought she was nothing. I look down at her face. Even unconscious, even gray, there's something stubborn in the set of her jaw. Something that's been there since the day we signed the papers, and she looked me dead in the eye and said, "This is business. Don't make it weird." I didn't make it weird. I made it nothing, and nothing is exactly what I deserve. Mrs. Choi takes another turn, and the hospital comes into view. Asen Medical Center, glass and steel, and the best trauma surgeons in Seoul because my father pays them enough to guarantee it. Dr. Yoon is already waiting at... The emergency entrance with a gurney and 3 nurses. The car isn't even fully stopped before I'm shoving the door open, carrying Olivia toward them. Knife wound, left side between the ribs, I say in Korean, clinical, precise. She's lost significant blood, approximately 20 minutes since injury. Dr. Yoon doesn't ask questions. He's been my father's doctor for 15 years. He knows better. They try to take her from me. My arms won't release. Let go. You have to let go. But my body isn't listening to logic. Some part of me that I don't recognize, some part I thought I'd killed years ago, is refusing to put her down, as if holding her means she can't slip away completely. Sejangnim, Dr. Yoon says carefully, we need to get her into surgery. I force my hands to open. It takes more effort than it should. They lift Olivia onto the gurney and she looks even smaller there, swallowed by white sheets and emergency lights. One of the nurses cuts away the silk blouse, and I see the wound for the first time. Jagged, deep, still bleeding. Whoever held the knife knew what they were doing. They wheel her toward the elevator and I follow because I don't know what else to do. Dr. Yoon blocks my path. You can't come into the OR. Then I'll wait. This could take hours. Then I'll wait hours. He studies my face for a long moment. Whatever he sees there makes him nod. 4th floor, surgical waiting room. I watch the elevator doors close on Olivia's still form. And then I'm alone in a hospital corridor, covered in her blood, and the only thought in my head is the same one I've been trying not to think since I heard Mrs. Choi scream, "If she dies, it's because I killed her, not the men with the knife. Me." I turn and walk toward the waiting room, and for the first time in 18 months, I let myself feel the weight of what I've done.
The first thing I feel is pain, sharp, persistent, radiating from my left side like someone's holding a lit match against my ribs. The second thing I feel is the mattress beneath me, too firm, clinical. Nothing like the 1,000 thread count sheets in the penthouse guest room where I've been sleeping for 18 months. Hospital. The word surfaces slowly, dragging context with it. Marble floor. Blood. Byung-suk's face above me, his voice cracking on a word I couldn't quite hear before everything went dark. I force my eyes open. White ceiling. Fluorescent lights turned low. The steady beep of a heart monitor that I realize after a moment is tracking my own pulse. I'm alive. The thought should bring relief. Instead, it brings questions. How long have I been out? Did they catch whoever stabbed me? And why? Why did he turn around? I turn my head slowly, testing what hurts and what doesn't. Everything hurts, but it's manageable, controlled. Whatever they gave me for, the pain is good, probably expensive, definitely the kind of care that comes with having a mafia boss's name on your insurance paperwork. The room is private, large. A window shows Gangnam at night, glass towers lit up like a circuit board, the Han River a dark ribbon cutting through the city. I'm alone. Of course I'm alone. What did I expect? That Byung-suk would be sitting vigil at my bedside, holding my hand, waiting for me to wake up so he could apologize for stepping over me like I was debris in his path. He came back, though. The memory surfaces with uncomfortable clarity. His hands on my face. His voice, raw, desperate. Nothing like the controlled monotone I've heard for 18 months. The way he said my name like it mattered. Or maybe I imagined that part. Blood loss does things to perception. The door opens. I tense instinctively, and the movement sends a fresh wave of pain through my side. But it's just a nurse, middle-aged, efficient, wearing scrubs, patterned with small yellow flowers that seem aggressively cheerful for a trauma ward. "Miss Winston," she says in accented English, her face breaking into a smile. "You're awake. That's very good. How is your pain? Scale of 1 to 10. 6, I lie. It's closer to 8, but I've learned that admitting to 8 means they hover, and I don't want hovering. I want information." She checks the IV, makes a note on her tablet, adjusts something I can't see. "Dr. Yoon will want to examine you. The surgery went very well. You were very lucky." "Lucky." "Right. Lucky that the knife missed anything vital. Lucky that Mrs. Choi found me. Lucky that my contract husband decided I was worth saving after all. How long was I out? I ask. Surgery was 4 hours. You've been in recovery for 6 more. It's almost 4 a.m. 10 hours. A whole night gone. I want to ask if anyone's been here, if he's been here. But that would reveal too much. To her, to myself. So I stay quiet. The nurse hesitates, then says carefully, "Your husband is in the waiting room." The words catch me off guard. Still here. She must see something in my face because she continues. Dr. Yoon told him you would be fine, that he should go home. He hasn't left. I don't know what to do with that information. Don't know where to put it in the careful architecture of how I understand Byung-suk and our arrangement, and the fact that he stepped over my bleeding body to greet another woman. I don't want to see him, I hear myself say. The nurse pauses, her hand on the IV stand. Are you sure? I'm sure. She nods slowly, professionally, like she's seen this before. Women who wake up in hospital beds and don't want to see the men who put them there, even indirectly. I'll let Dr. Yoon know, she says. Try to rest, Miss Winston. Your body needs time to heal. She leaves, and I'm alone again with the beeping monitor and the pain in my side and the truth I don't want to examine. He stayed. Not just until the surgery was done, not just long enough to ensure I'd survive and the contract would hold. He's been here for 10 hours, waiting. It doesn't mean anything. I repeat it to myself, testing the words for truth. Byung-suk is practical, strategic. Maybe he's worried about liability, or what questions the police might ask, or how this looks to his father's organization. Maybe it's just guilt. Rich men are very good at performing guilt when they think it will absolve them. I close my eyes and try to sleep, but my brain won't cooperate. Instead, it replays the moment on a loop. His shoe in my field of vision. The warmth in his voice when he greeted Ji-won. The casual dismissal in, "The housekeeper will handle it." That's who he is. That's who he's always been. The contract was supposed to be simple. 2 years, $2 million. I'd get my family taken care of. He'd get his American expansion legitimized, and we'd both walk away clean. I didn't plan on almost dying in his hallway. Didn't plan on him running back. Didn't plan on lying in a hospital bed at 4 in the morning, wondering what the hell any of it means. The door opens again, and this time, it's not the nurse. Dr. Yoon is older, grey at the temples, wearing wire-rimmed glasses, and an expression of careful neutrality that probably serves him well when dealing with his criminal clientele. "Miss Winston," he says in perfect English, "I'm glad to see you awake. How are you feeling?" Like I got stabbed. His mouth twitches, almost a smile. That's accurate. The blade penetrated between your 8th and 9th ribs, narrowly missing your spleen. You lost a significant amount of blood, but the surgery was successful. No permanent damage, assuming you follow recovery protocol. How long until I can leave? 3 days, minimum. Possibly 5, depending on how you heal. 3 to 5 days trapped in a hospital bed, with nothing to do but think about Byung-suk in the waiting room, and Ji-won in her cream Chanel suit, and the fact that I almost died over a marriage that was never real. "Your husband would like to see you," Dr. Yoon says carefully. "I can tell him you're not ready for visitors if that's your preference." It is. He studies me for a long moment. "Miss Winston, I've known Lee Byung-suk since he was a boy. I've never seen him the way he was tonight." Don't. I don't want to hear this. Don't want the complication of Byung-suk being human, being scared, being anything other than the cold, efficient machine who stepped over me. "I don't care," I say, and my voice comes out harder than I intended. "Tell him I'm fine. Tell him the contract stands. Tell him whatever you want, but I don't want to see him." Dr. Yoon nods once. "As you wish." He leaves, and I'm alone with the monitor and the pain and the lie I just told. Because the truth is, I do care.
The waiting room chair is uncomfortable. I've been sitting in it for 11 hours, and I can feel every angle of cheap plastic digging into my spine. There's a coffee stain on the armrest from someone else's vigil, and the fluorescent lights hum at a frequency designed to make thinking impossible. I keep thinking anyway, mostly about the look on Olivia's face when she said my name, the way her hand reached out before she couldn't reach anymore, the specific shade of gray her skin turned when she stopped fighting to stay conscious. She told Dr. Yoon she doesn't want to see you. He delivered the message an hour ago with the kind of professional detachment that comes from decades of telling men things they don't want to hear. Your father has 6 months. The cancer spread. She doesn't want to see you. I told him I understood. The chair is still digging into my spine. The door to the waiting room opens, and I look up instinctively, but it's just an orderly pushing a cart of linens. Not Dr. Yoon with an update. Not a nurse saying Olivia changed her mind. Why would she change her mind? I stepped over her. That's not a metaphor or an exaggeration. I literally stepped over her bleeding body because Jiwon was standing in my foyer, and my father spent 6 months arranging her visit, and I've spent my entire life doing exactly what's expected of me regardless of the cost. The cost was Olivia dying on my floor. Almost dying. She's alive. Dr. Yoon said she's stable. You can leave. I should leave. Should go back to the penthouse, shower off her blood, burn the shirt I'm still wearing, call my father, and explain how security failed. Should check on Jiwon, who I abandoned in a hallway without explanation while carrying my wife to a car. Should do 100 things that matter more than sitting in this chair. I stay in the chair. My phone has been vibrating for hours. Texts from Jiwon. 3 calls from my father. A message from my underboss asking if I need him to handle the situation. I've ignored all of them. The only person I want to talk to has shut me out, and I can't even blame her for it. What did you expect? That she'd wake up and forget you chose someone else? I didn't choose Jiwon. That's what I keep trying to tell myself. I chose the path my father laid out, the alliance that's been planned since I was 16, the future that's supposed to make sense of everything I've done to get here. But when Mrs. Choi screamed, when I turned around and saw Olivia on the floor, I didn't think about the alliance, didn't think about my father or Jiwon, or the careful architecture of deals and obligations that make up my life. I thought, not her. Not Olivia with her sharp edges and her refusal to be impressed by anything I own. Not Olivia who fixed my money laundering operation in 3 weeks and never asked for credit. Not Olivia who wears my ring like it's a business card and looks at me like I'm a problem she's already solved. Not her. The door opens again. This time it's Dr. Yoon. I'm on my feet before he finishes stepping into the room. She's stable, he says, preempting my question. Awake, alert, the pain is managed. She'll make a full recovery. The relief hits me hard enough that I have to lock my knees to stay standing. I want to see her. She's refused visitors. Dr. Yoon's expression doesn't change. I believe I already conveyed that. I know. I still want to see her. Byung-suk. He takes off his glasses, polishes them with the edge of his coat. A gesture I remember from childhood, from the times he'd tell my father things my father didn't want to hear and needed the buffer of something to do with his hands. What exactly do you think seeing her will accomplish? I don't know. Apology seems inadequate. Explanation seems worse. I can't undo stepping over her. Can't rewind to the moment I heard her voice and make a different choice, but I need to see her, breathing. Need to confirm with my own eyes that she's alive and whole, and not the gray broken thing I carried out of the penthouse. I need to make sure she's safe, I say finally. Dr. Yoon raises an eyebrow. Safe from what? The men who attacked her are already being handled, I assume. They will be. My father's people are reviewing security footage now, tracking down whoever got past the penthouse defenses, mapping the chain of command that led to a knife in Olivia's side. By tomorrow morning, I'll have names. By tomorrow night, those names will stop mattering. Safe from me, I hear myself say. The words surprise both of us. Dr. Yoon studies me for a long moment, then sighs. She doesn't want to see you, Byung-suk, and given what happened, she's entitled to that boundary. I know. Then respect it. He's right. I know he's right. Olivia drew a line, and the least I can do, the only thing I can do, is honor it. I sit back down in the chair. Dr. Yoon lingers in the doorway. Go home, shower, sleep. She'll be here for several more days. You'll have time to... I'm staying. She won't change her mind just because you're here. I know. He gives me the look he used to give my father when my father made decisions that were technically legal but morally questionable. Resigned, tired. The expression of a man who's seen too much to be surprised by anything. There's a shower in the staff lounge on the 3rd floor, he says finally, and coffee that's slightly less terrible than what you'll find in the vending machine. I suggest you use both. He leaves before I can thank him. I lean back in the chair and close my eyes, but I don't see darkness. I see Olivia's hand reaching for me on the marble. I see the white silk turning red. I see myself stepping over her like she was nothing. She drew a line. You're on the wrong side of it. The thought settles over me with the weight of certainty. Maybe that's what I deserve. To sit in this chair and want something I can't have. To finally care about someone and have it be 18 months too late. My phone vibrates again. Ji-won this time, the text appearing on my lock screen. Oppa, what's happening? Your father is asking questions. I don't know what to tell him. Asterisk, I should answer, should explain, should manage the situation the way I've been trained to manage every situation since I was old enough to understand what my last name means. Instead, I put the phone face down on the chair beside me and stare at the hallway, where, 4 floors up, Olivia is awake and alive and refusing to see me. I don't move from the chair.
He's in my room. I wake up to find Byung-suk sitting in the chair by the window, and my first thought isn't fear or surprise. It's anger so sharp it cuts through the pain medication. Get out. He doesn't move. Just sits there in yesterday's blood-stained shirt, looking like he hasn't slept in a week. Good. He shouldn't sleep. He should feel every second of what he did. I told Dr. Yoon I didn't want to see you, I say, and my voice comes out steadier than I feel. I know. His eyes meet mine, and there's something in them I don't recognize. Something raw. Dr. Yoon made an exception. Why would he? Because I wouldn't leave the waiting room. He says it flatly, without pride. He thought this might be easier than having security remove me. The exhaustion in his voice undercuts any arrogance the words might have carried. Well, you've seen me. I shift in the bed, ignoring the way the movement pulls at my stitches. I'm alive. Contract's still valid. You can leave, now. He doesn't leave. Instead, he leans forward, elbows on his knees, and the motion brings him closer. Not close enough to touch, but close enough that I can see the exhaustion etched into his face, the shadow of stubble he never allows in public, the way his hands are gripped together like he's physically restraining himself from something. I'm not here about the contract, he says quietly. Then why are you here? The question hangs between us. I watch him search for an answer, watch the careful control he always wears like armor start to crack at the edges. Because I can't, he stops, starts again. Because every time I close my eyes, I see you on that floor, and I need to know you're real, that you're actually alive and not just what? The anger surges hot and vicious. Not just the mess you stepped over on your way to your real fiancé. He flinches, actually flinches, like the words hit him physically. Yes, he says, and his voice is rough. Exactly that. I wasn't expecting honesty, wasn't expecting him to just admit it. Men like Byung-suk don't admit their failures. They justify them, minimize them, find ways to make you doubt what you saw with your own eyes. But he's just sitting there, looking at me like he's waiting for a verdict. You stepped over me, I say, and I hate that my voice shakes. I was bleeding out, and you stepped over me like I was nothing. Like 18 months of sleeping 3 doors down from each other, of sitting across from each other at your father's dinners, of me fixing your money and playing your wife in public, like none of it mattered enough for you to even look down. I know. That's it, you know. The heart monitor starts beeping faster, matching my pulse. I called your name, Byung-suk. I said your name, and you kept walking. I know, he says again, and this time there's something broken in it. I heard you, and I kept walking because Ji-won was there, and my father's plan was there, and I've spent my entire life doing exactly what I'm supposed to do regardless of who it hurts. He stands up, and suddenly he's closer than he should be. Close enough that I can see the blood stain on his collar, my blood, that he hasn't bothered to change. I heard you, he says, his voice dropping to something that sounds almost like confession. And I categorized you as a problem, a distraction, something that would complicate the carefully orchestrated evening my father had planned. His hand moves toward me, then stops mid-air like he caught himself, like he doesn't have permission to touch. I stepped over you because in that moment, you weren't real to me. You were just an obstacle, the same way everything in my life is either an asset or an obstacle, and I've been trained since childhood to step over obstacles. The honesty is worse than an excuse would be, at least an excuse I could argue with. And then Mrs. Choi screamed, he continues, and I heard the panic in her voice, and I turned around and saw you, really saw you, for the first time in 18 months, saw the blood and your hand reaching, and the way you were looking at me, like I was supposed to save you. He's close enough now that I can smell the coffee on his breath, stale and bitter, can see the way his jaw is clenched like he's fighting for control. And I realized, he says, his voice barely above a whisper, that I'd just killed the only person in my life who's ever looked at me and seen a man instead of a weapon. My breath catches. Don't, I say, but it comes out weaker than I intended. Don't make this about you. Don't make this some revelation where you suddenly realize I'm human, and that makes everything okay. It doesn't make anything okay. His hand is still hovering in the space between us, and I can see it trembling. Nothing makes this okay. But you asked why I'm here, and that's why. Because I can't undo what I did, can't go back and make the right choice. But I can sit in that waiting room chair for however many days it takes for you to wake up and tell me exactly what I am. And what are you? I shouldn't ask, shouldn't give him the opening. His eyes lock on mine, and there's something in them that makes my pulse spike in a way that has nothing to do with anger. Yours, he says, if you'll have me. The word lands like a detonation. I should laugh, should tell him he's insane, that you don't get to claim someone after stepping over their bleeding body, that 18 months of indifference doesn't disappear because of one dramatic hospital vigil. But I can't speak, can't look away from the intensity in his eyes, the way he's looking at me like I'm the only thing in the room that matters, like I'm the only thing that's ever mattered. I don't want this, I say, and even I can hear the lie in it. You want something, he says quietly, watching my face. You wanted the power, the money, the world I could give. You. I know that's why you signed the contract. He leans closer, and his voice drops. But somewhere in the last 18 months, you started wanting more than that. I saw it in the way you learned Korean when you thought I wasn't paying attention, the way you kept that blouse I bought you even though you hated the gala, the way you looked at me sometimes when you thought I couldn't see. Damn him. He's right. I did want more. I just never let myself name it. His hand finally moves, not to touch me, but to grip the bed railing. His knuckles go white with the force of it. I'm going to find the men who put that knife in you, he says, his voice dropping into something cold and lethal. And I am going to make sure they understand exactly what it costs to touch what's mine. And then I'm going to spend however long it takes proving to you that you matter more than any alliance, any plan, any future my father has orchestrated. I'm not yours, I say, but my voice has lost its conviction. Not yet, he agrees. His eyes drop to my mouth, then back up. But you will be. The possessiveness in his voice does something to me. Something I don't want to examine. Something that makes the anger start shifting into something more dangerous. "You're going to have to work for it," I hear myself say. Something shifts in his expression. Not quite relief, but close. Like I just gave him the first thing he's hoped for in days. "Good," he says, and his voice is quiet, serious. I don't trust things that come easy. He releases the bed railing and steps back, putting careful distance between us, like he doesn't trust himself any closer. "Rest," he says. "I'll be in the waiting room when you're ready to tell me what you need." What if I'm never ready? He pauses at the door, looks back at me with eyes that have seen too much and survived it anyway. "Then I'll wait," he says simply. "I'm very good at waiting for things that matter." He leaves and I'm alone with, the beeping monitor, and the ache in my side, and the memory of his voice saying yours like it was the only word that mattered. I close my eyes and try to convince myself I'm still angry, but all I can feel is the ghost of his hand hovering near my face, the intensity of his eyes, the way my pulse jumped when he said not yet.
3 days. That's how long it takes before Olivia agrees to see me again. 3 days of sitting in that waiting room chair, ignoring my father's calls, deflecting Jiwon's increasingly frantic texts, and letting my entire carefully constructed life fall apart, while I wait for a woman who has every right to never speak to me again. Dr. Yoon updates me twice a day. She's healing well, no infection, pain manageable. She's been asking the nurses about her phone, about contacting her family, about when she can leave. She hasn't asked about me. On the morning of the 4th day, Dr. Yoon finds me in my usual spot. "She'll see you," he says. "Room 407. Don't make me regret this, Byung-suk." I'm already walking. When I reach her room, the door is open. Olivia is sitting up in bed, hair pulled back, wearing a hospital gown that somehow looks more dignified on her than it has any right to. She's looking out the window at Seoul in daylight, a view she's probably been staring at for days while I sat 4 floors below. "You can come in," she says without turning around. "I know you're standing there." I step inside and close the door behind me. She finally looks at me, and I see it immediately. She's made a decision. I just don't know what it is yet. "Sit," she says, gesturing to the chair. I sit. For a long moment, neither of us speaks. I can hear the sounds of the hospital beyond the door. Nurses talking in Korean, someone's TV playing a drama, the eternal beep of monitors tracking lives in progress. "I called my mother yesterday," Olivia says finally. "Told her I was in an accident. Nothing serious. She wanted to fly out, but I told her not to, that I'd be home soon." Home. Atlanta, not Seoul, not the penthouse. "She asked about you," Olivia continues, her eyes steady on mine. "Asked if my husband was taking care of me. I told her yes." "You lied." "Did I?" She tilts her head slightly. "You've been here for 4 days. Haven't left the hospital. Doctor, Yoon says you've been sleeping in the waiting room when you sleep at all. That sounds like taking care of me." "That's guilt, not care." "Maybe." She shifts slightly, winces, adjusts. "Or maybe it's both." I don't know what to say to that. Don't know how to navigate this conversation when I can't read her yet. Can't tell if she's building up to forgiveness or a final dismissal. "I've been thinking," she says, "about what you said, about being yours." My pulse kicks up, but I stay still, stay quiet. Let her lead this. "The thing is, Byung-suk, I didn't come to Seoul to fall in love with you. I came here for $2 million and a clean exit. I came here because my brother needs care, my insurance won't cover, and my mother's medication costs more than her pension, and my niece deserves better than student debt." She looks directly at me. "I came here to use you the same way you were using me. So when you stepped over me, when you chose Ji-won and your father's plan, I shouldn't have been surprised. That was always the deal. Olivia, let me finish." Her voice is firm but not unkind. "I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was. Because somewhere in 18 months of separate bedrooms and mechanical dinners and a marriage that only existed on paper, I forgot that you weren't real. The words land like a blow. I forgot, she continues, that Lee Byung-suk, the person, doesn't exist. There's only Lee Byung-suk, the weapon, the asset, the son who does what he's told, regardless of the cost. That's not, isn't it? She raises an eyebrow. You stepped over me because I was an obstacle to your father's plan. You came back because guilt is an obstacle to your control. You're sitting here now because the idea of me hating you is an obstacle to whatever future you've decided you want. She's wrong. She has to be wrong, but I can't find the words to prove it. So here's what I need to know, Olivia says, and her voice softens just slightly. When you said you were mine, did you mean it? Or were you just solving another problem the only way you know how? The question hangs between us like a test. I'm not sure I know how to pass. I could lie, could tell her what she wants to hear, could deploy every manipulation technique my father ever taught me, and convince her that what I feel is real and pure and uncomplicated by guilt or control or the fact that I've spent my entire life being exactly what people need me to be. But she asked for the truth, so I give it to her. I don't know, I say. She blinks, clearly not the answer she expected. I don't know if what I feel is real, I continue, or if it's just guilt wearing a different mask. I don't know if I want you because you matter to me or because you're the first thing in my life my father didn't choose for me. I don't know if I'm capable of love or if that part of me died the first time I killed someone on my father's orders. I lean forward, elbows on knees, forcing myself to hold her gaze. What I do know is that when I heard Mrs. Choi scream, I didn't think about the contract or the alliance or what my father would say. I thought, not her, not Olivia. And when I picked you up and you were too light and too cold and bleeding through my hands, I knew that if you died, something in me would die with you. Her expression doesn't change, but I see her throat work. A swallow. I know, I continue, that I've sat in that waiting room chair for 4 days, and the only time I felt like I could breathe was when Dr. Yoon told me you were awake. I know that Ji-won has been calling, and my father has been demanding answers, and my entire life is falling apart. And the only thing I care about is whether you'll let me try to be the man you thought you saw when you married me. I stop, take a breath. So no, I don't know if what I feel is love, but I know it's the closest I've ever come. And I know that I want the chance to find out what it becomes, if you'll let me. Silence. Olivia studies me for a long moment, her face unreadable. Then she reaches for the cup of water on her bedside table, takes a sip, sets it down with deliberate care. Ji-won came to see me yesterday, she says. The words hit me like cold water. What? Ji-won, your real fiancée. She came by while you were, I assume, sleeping in that chair Dr. Yoon keeps complaining about. Olivia's tone is conversational, almost casual. She's very beautiful in person. Pictures don't do her justice. I'm on my feet before I realize I'm moving. What did she say to you? Sit down, Byung-suk. Olivia, what did she... Sit down. I sit. Olivia watches me with something that might be amusement, might be assessment. She told me, Olivia says slowly, that I should consider taking the payout early and going home, that you and she have been promised to each other since you were children, and that your father expects the wedding in August. She pauses. She was very polite about it, very composed. My hands curl into fists. She had no right. She also told me, Olivia continues, cutting through my anger, that she's known you her whole life, and she's never seen you look at her the way you looked at me when you carried me out of that penthouse. I stop, stare. She said, Olivia says, and now there's something almost soft in her voice, that she's been in love with you since she was 16, and that watching you choose your father's plan over and over is the hardest part, because she knows you'll do it again, that you'll choose the alliance over everything else, because that's who Lee Byung-suk is. I'm not, are you? She asks it gently, like she actually wants to know. Because in 6 months, our contract ends, and your father's plan continues, and Ji-won will still be waiting. So what happens then, Byung-suk? The question sits between us, heavy and unavoidable. What happens in 6 months when the contract ends and my father expects me to marry Ji-won and Olivia is supposed to walk away with her money and her freedom? What happens when I have to choose between the life I've been trained for and the woman who makes me want a different one? I choose you, I say. You say that now. I choose you, I repeat, and this time I let her hear the certainty in it. In 6 months, in 6 years, when my father disowns me and Ji-won's family retaliates and every alliance I've spent my life building falls apart, I choose you. Olivia's eyes search mine. Prove it, she says quietly. How? Help me stand, she says. I want to walk. I move to her side, slide my arm carefully around her waist, mindful of the stitches. She's warm against me, solid, real. Her hand grips my shoulder for balance, and I can feel her trembling slightly, from pain or effort or something else, I don't know. We make it 3 steps before my phone rings. My father. I silence it without looking. It rings again immediately. Answer it, Olivia says quietly. No. Byung-suk. She stops walking, turns to face me. We're close enough that I can see the flecks of gold in her brown eyes. Answer it. I want to hear what you say. I pull the phone from my pocket, put it on speaker. Yes, Abeoji. My father's voice fills the small space between us, sharp and controlled. Where are you? Asan Medical Center. Still. Displeasure colors the word. The American wife survived. Dr. Yoon confirmed this days ago. There's no reason for you to still be there. I feel Olivia's hand tighten on my shoulder. Her name is Olivia, I say. Silence on the other end. Then, what? Her name, it's Olivia, not the American wife, Olivia Winston. And I'm here because my wife is recovering from a knife wound she received in my home because my security failed. Our security. My father's voice sharpens. And it's being handled. The men responsible have been identified. You have more important matters to attend to. Ji-won's father is asking questions about the wedding timeline. He's concerned about, there won't be a wedding. The silence this time is different, dangerous. Byung-suk, my father says, each syllable precise. I don't think you understand what you're saying. I understand perfectly. I'm looking at Olivia as I say it, watching her face. I'm not marrying Ji-won. The alliance with her family ends. The August wedding is canceled. You would throw away everything we've built for a contract marriage. No, I say quietly. I'm throwing it away for my wife. My father's voice goes cold. If you do this, there will be consequences. Ji-won's family will retaliate. Our American expansion will collapse without the legitimacy she provides, and I will not protect you from what comes next. I know. You'll have nothing, Byung-suk. No family support, no alliances, no infrastructure. I'll have her, I say, and I mean it. That's enough. It's not... I end the call. The phone immediately starts ringing again. I power it off completely and drop it on the bed. Olivia is staring at me like she's seeing me for the first time. You just... She stops. Starts again. Do you understand what you just did? Yes. Your father will actually disown you. Ji-won's family will come after you. Everything you've built. I know. I turn to face her fully, both hands gentle on her waist now. And I don't care. Byung-suk, I've spent my entire life being my father's weapon, his asset, the good son who does what he's told. I lift one hand to her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone with a reverence I didn't know I was capable of. I'm done. Whatever comes next, I'll handle it. But I'm not going back to that life. What about the American expansion? Your father said, the expansion doesn't need G1. It needs you. I let the words settle. You restructured our entire operation in 3 months. You know more about legitimate American business than anyone in my father's organization. If he's smart, he'll keep you on as a consultant. If he's not, then I'll start over and build something that doesn't require blood money to survive. Her eyes widened slightly. You'd leave the family business? I'd burn it down if you asked me to. I'm not asking you to. I know. I lean closer until our foreheads are nearly touching. But I need you to understand something, Olivia. I don't know how to be a good man. I don't know how to love someone without turning them into a strategy. But I know that when I thought I'd lost you, the only thing that mattered was getting you back. My hand slides from her face to the back of her neck, fingers tangling gently in the hair at her nape. So, yes, I say, my voice dropping lower. I'll prove it. I'll prove it every day for however long it takes for you to believe that when I say you're mine, I mean it. That when I say I choose you, I'm choosing you over everything. Her breath catches. Even if it costs you everything? Especially then. For a long moment, we just stand there, her hand on my shoulder, my hand at her neck, close enough that I can count her heartbeats, feel the warmth of her breath. Your family, she says quietly. My brother's care, my mother's medication, my niece's tuition, already handled. I've been waiting for this question. I transferred $5,000,001 to an account in your name 3 days ago. Enough to cover your family's expenses for the next 10 years, minimum. The contract payout was always yours regardless. This is separate. Her eyes search mine. Why? Because you shouldn't have to choose between me and your family's safety, and because I needed you to know that whether you walk away or stay, they're taken care of. 5,000,000. She stops, does the math. That's almost $4 million, Byung-suk. I'm aware. That's not proving it. That's buying me. No. I pull back just enough to meet her eyes fully. Buying. You would be conditional. This isn't. That money is yours even if you leave. Even if you never speak to me again, I'm not trying to purchase your affection, Olivia. I'm trying to remove every obstacle between you and the choice you actually want to make. She's quiet for a long moment. Then, what if the choice I want to make is leaving? The question hurts more than it should. Then I'll put you on a plane to Atlanta, I say honestly, and I'll spend the rest of my life knowing I found something real and destroyed it by being 18 months too late. Her hand moves from my shoulder to my chest, palm flat over my heart. I can feel your heartbeat, she says softly. It's yours. You can't just... She shakes her head. You can't just say things like that. Why not? Because it makes it harder to stay angry at you. Good. I cover her hand with mine, press it more firmly against my chest. I don't want you angry. I want you here. I want you in my life, in my home, in my bed, not because a contract says so, but because you chose it. Her eyes drop to my mouth. I haven't chosen anything yet, she says, but her voice has gone softer. Haven't you? I lean in slowly, giving her time to pull away. You told Jiwon no. You told Dr. Yoon to let me in. You're standing here listening to me burn down my entire life for you instead of telling me to leave. Maybe I just wanted to watch you actually do it. And now that you have? She tilts her head up, and we're so close now that I can see the exact moment her resolve cracks. Now, she says, I want you to kiss me before I change my mind. I don't make her ask twice. My mouth finds hers, and it's nothing like I imagined. There's no careful control, no strategy, no thinking 3 moves ahead. There's just Olivia, her lips soft and warm, her hand fisting in my shirt, the small sound she makes when I angle her head back to deepen the kiss. I'm careful of her injury, keeping my arm loose around her waist, but everything else is pure need. 18 months of proximity without touching, of wanting something I didn't let myself name, of watching her move through my world like she belonged there while pretending I didn't notice. All of it pours into this kiss. When we finally break apart, we're both breathing hard. That was, she starts. Mine, I finish, my voice rough. You're mine, Olivia. Not because of a contract, not because I stepped over you and guilt is eating me alive, because I choose you. Every day, over everything. She looks up at me with eyes that are finally soft. I'm keeping the $5 million, she says. Good. And I'm running your American operations, legitimately. No laundering, no gray area deals, no mafia business. Done. And we're leaving Seoul. I'm not living in that penthouse where I almost died. I hadn't expected that, but I don't hesitate. Where do you want to go? Brooklyn, she says. I want a brownstone in Brooklyn where my family can visit, and you can't be your father's son because he's 6,000 miles away. Then that's where we'll go. Just like that. Just like that. I pull her closer, mindful of her stitches, and rest my forehead against hers. I meant what I said, Olivia. Wherever you're going, that's where I want to be. She's quiet for a moment, then, what about Jiwon? I'll handle it. I'll make sure she's protected from her family's retaliation, set her up with enough resources to build whatever life she wants. She deserves better than being trapped in an alliance she never wanted either. And your father? We'll learn to live with his disappointment. I brush my lips across her forehead. Or he won't. Either way, it's not my problem anymore. Olivia pulls back just enough to look at me. Really look at me. You're serious about this, about all of it. Deadly serious. A small smile tugs at her mouth. Then I have one more condition. Name it. When we get to Brooklyn, she says, eyes bright with something that looks like hope. You're going to show me the poetry you write, the real you, Byung-suk, not the weapon, not the perfect son, just the man who writes Seijo in a locked drawer and wants to disappear into the mountains. My breath catches. How did you... I've been your wife for 18 months. You think I didn't notice the locked drawer? The way you sometimes stare at nothing with this look on your face, like you're somewhere far away? She reaches up, touches my face gently. I want to meet him. The person you were before your father turned you into this. Something in my chest cracks open. He might not exist anymore. Then we'll find out together. I kiss her again, slower this time, softer, a promise instead of a claim. When we pull apart, I can see Seoul through the window behind her, the city that was supposed to be my kingdom, my inheritance, my cage. And I don't feel anything but relief at the thought of leaving it behind. Let's go home, Olivia says quietly. Home? She smiles. Brooklyn. I want to go home. I help her back to the bed, call Dr. Yoon to start her discharge paperwork, and begin making the 100 calls necessary to dismantle a life and build a new one. And through all of it, Olivia watches me with eyes that finally see me as something more than a contract, something more than a mistake, something worth choosing. 6 months later, Brooklyn. The brownstone on Monroe Street has good light in the mornings. I notice this because Olivia insists on working from the dining room table instead of the office I had custom built for her on the second floor. She says she likes being able to see the street, likes the way the Brooklyn sun hits different than Seoul's. I think she just likes that I bring her coffee and argue with her about cybersecurity protocols while she runs my newly legitimate tech consulting firm. You're hovering again, she says without looking up from her laptop. I'm not hovering, I'm observing. You're hovering. She glances up, eyes bright with amusement. And you're distracting me. From what? From this contract negotiation with your father's former competitor, the one who's offering us $500,000 to consult on their American expansion. I move behind her chair, hands on her shoulders. Tell him 700 and a guarantee that he won't try to recruit you away from me. Possessive much? Always. I lean down, press a kiss to the spot where her neck meets her shoulder. The scar from the knife wound is barely visible now, just a thin line that I have learned to worship with my mouth in the dark. You're mine, Mrs. Lee. I don't share. She turns in the chair, pulls me down for a proper kiss. Your mother called, she says when we break apart. She wants to know if we're coming to Atlanta for Thanksgiving. Do you want to go? I do. She smiles. My brother wants to meet the man who's been paying for his treatment, and my niece wants to thank you for her tuition, and my mother wants to make sure you're actually treating me right and not just throwing money at problems. Am I? Treating you right? She stands, wraps her arms around my neck, despite the height difference, and looks at me with eyes that have forgiven me for everything. You chose me, she says simply. Over your father, over G1, over everything you were supposed to be. So yeah, you're treating me right. I kiss her again because I can, because she's mine and I'm hers, and we chose this. Chose each other, chose Brooklyn and legitimate business, and morning light, and a life that doesn't require stepping over people to survive. I love you, I say against her mouth, meaning it more than I've ever meant anything. I know, she says, smiling. You wrote it in a Cijo last week. Very poetic, very you. You weren't supposed to read that. You left it on the kitchen counter. What did you expect? I pull her closer, mindful of old injuries that have healed into something stronger. I expected, I say, that you'd call me out for being sentimental. Oh, I am, she grins. But I'm also keeping it. It's going in the file with all the other evidence that Lee Byung-suk is secretly a romantic. There's a file? There's absolutely a file. I laugh, and it's the easiest thing in the world. This, her, us, the life we built from the ashes of everything I destroyed. And when she pulls me toward the stairs with heat in her eyes and promises in her smile, I follow without hesitation, because she's mine, and I'm hers, and that's the only alliance that matters anymore.
Thank you so much for listening to Olivia and Byung-suk's story. If their journey moved you, whether it made you angry, made you hope, or made you believe in second chances, I'd be so grateful if you'd leave a comment letting me know what you felt. Your thoughts mean everything. If you enjoyed this story, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps me keep creating these love stories for you. Until next time, remember, you deserve someone who chooses you every single time.